Y esto sí es increíble. Tremendo pito, así debió de ser el titular, ¿no? Tremendo pito, en vez de pito, es verdad, porque es un pitazo el debate por el fortalecimiento de áreas protegidas en el Ecuador. Miren ustedes, Verónica Íñiguez les dice las verdades a los Pachakutik. ¡Buja! ¡Compa! Durante la primera sesión legislativa dedicada al debate del fortalecimiento de áreas protegidas, la asambleísta del movimiento correísta Verónica Íñiguez lanzó una fuerte crítica dirigida a los representantes del partido Pachakutik en un momento clave del diálogo político. Íñiguez llamó por su nombre a los 9 asambleístas de esta bancada indigenista, destacando que 6 de ellos mantienen una alianza con el gobierno nacional, una alianza directa. Su intervención dejó en claro y puso sobre la mesa una serie de preguntas incómodas sobre sus posiciones frente a los temas ambientales y sociales. Y es que la legisladora no se quedó callada, les dijo de todo, habló de que se ven afectados por actividades extractivistas que se priorizan bajo el nuevo marco legal. Es decir, lo que está haciendo el señor Noboa no es otra cosa sino tapar a sus amiguis. Pero vamos a ver.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, comrades of the Citizens' Revolution, fellow assembly members, and the dignified Ecuadorian people who are listening to us at this moment. Today, I stand before this plenary session not only as a legislator, but also as a scientist who has been working for more than 15 years in the conservation and protection of our biodiversity. Today, unlike the pretty speeches that have tarnished the name of biodiversity conservation, I can tell you from my own experience that I know the challenges that protected areas face. I can also tell you that science has given us the tools to know what we have to do and has also warned us about the consequences of continuing to destroy them. And this bill, Mr. President and colleagues, does not seek to conserve biodiversity. Not even the purpose of the law itself mentions it. It mentions other things that may be good, yes, but behind them lies a dark background that completely leaves out different peoples, communities, and nationalities that live within or in the areas of influence of protected areas. This is a bill that has several ambiguities and that generates many concerns. Why does it generate these concerns? Because, as my colleague Anna Bellion has already said, it first mentions Article 57 of the Constitution, which speaks of free, prior and informed consultation. This consultation is mentioned in the Constitution for extractive activities such as mining. In other words, we are leaving the door open so that mining can be permitted in these spaces. Today, you need to know that with this law we are not going to conserve biodiversity. On the contrary, we are going to violate it. So I do ask that you be a little more honest in your speeches and talk about what you really want, but it is not conservation.
Es que la legisladora señaló específicamente cuáles son las áreas protegidas que estarían más amenazadas si se aprueba la propuesta de ley tal como está planteada. Según su análisis, ciertas zonas estratégicas de la Amazonía ecuatoriana, así como otras regiones ricas en biodiversidad, podrían verse afectadas por actividades extractivistas que se priorizan bajo este nuevo marco legal. Íñiguez argumentó que esto iría en contra de los intereses de los pueblos originarios y del medio ambiente en general. Vamos a mirar y venimos con la conclusión.
If this law truly aims to preserve the biodiversity and culture within these territories, then you must have an article that excludes territories where populations live in voluntary isolation, and also excludes areas where there are populations with traditional constitutive uses, such as mangroves, water recharge areas, and more lands and wetlands, which have also been discussed here, but which you also do not understand what they are for. You do not understand who lives there, who benefits from them. And if you are really concerned about this, then exclude them from here. Exclude them from this bill, because if we do not leave the door open for these spaces to also be violated, and for these populations that have ancestrally managed the resources contained in them to be dispossessed of their land, abandoned, and forced to migrate from the countryside to the city. What are we going to offer these people in the city? That generate poverty belts, that settle where there are rivers and have to discharge there, contaminating other resources. We must understand the cascading effects generated by any type of work or development within an area as sensitive and fragile as protected areas. Science gives us all the evidence as to why we have to protect these spaces. Without science, we would not have protected areas, but it does tell us in which sectors we can allow this type of activity, and there is no lock here. It does not tell us exactly what is going to happen, or why, on the contrary, we allow extractive activities. It is also necessary to reflect on the creation of a public company. We are not against that, but we must understand what the intention behind it is. A public company, by its very nature, could not exercise the governance of the national system of protected areas, much less request to impose sanctions within these spaces. So, we are contradicting the law itself, ladies and gentlemen. So, we have to give it coherence so that this bill can truly fulfill its intended purpose. Something very important that you need to know is that no one is denying the urgency of securing all the resources needed to guarantee the financial sustainability of our protected areas, but we are concerned that it will be through loans. Why? Why are we concerned? Remember that the current government intends to generate another loan with the IMF in the name of climate resilience. So what are we going to do? Are we going to obtain funds so that they can be used instead of conservation to pay other financial obligations? That is what we are really looking for. No, we really have to ensure a legal status for this National Service of Protected Areas. I would also like to say that there is no need for a special article or provision for our armed forces or the national police to have to act. They can already do it. The Constitution and the law authorize it. They can do it, and, what's more, they are doing it right now. They are being reported for human rights violations within the province of Bolívar in the ships. That is why I take this opportunity to express my solidarity with all the peoples who are resisting to defend their territories. My colleagues have already mentioned it. There is talk within a law that speaks of protected areas, the remission of interest and delays. Who will really benefit from this? They have already said it: be transparent, provide a list of those who will benefit and put a lock on it so that legislators do not benefit from these types of measures. Finally, I want to refer to all my colleagues and assembly members of Pachakutik, and I will name them as I read. Adina Faranango from Pichincha, where the Cayamba Coca Ecological Reserve faces a threat from mining concessions. Mariana Yumbay from Bolívar, where the Kashka Totoras Protected Forest is under pressure from illegal mining. Año El Choro from Cañar, where the Colaya Protected Forest has been overlapped by mining concessions. And Carmen Tiupol from Chimborazo, where the Chimborazo Wildlife Reserve is at risk from extractive activities. Alex Toapta from Cotopaxi, where the national park of the same name is threatened by mining in its buffer zones. To Fernando Nantipia from Barona, Santiago, where the Shanghai National Park and the Kutukushimi Protected Forest are threatened by mining and oil. To Cecilia Baltazar from Tunguragua, where the Angantes National Park faces illegal mining. To Edmundo Cerda from Napo, where the Yasuni National Park and Sumaco Napo Galeras are crossed by oil blocks and mining concessions. To Jose Luis Nango from Pastaza, where the Yasuni and the Wildlife Production Reserve, whose vein, are suffering the pressure of oil extraction. That is why today I ask you, colleagues, with my heart in my hand and with the strength of the truth, are you going to support mining? Are you going to support the interests of a few? History is watching you, your people are watching you. Now you will have the opportunity to reclaim your struggles and demonstrate that you have always been with your people, that you will honor the memories of your grandparents and grandmothers, and that you will be faithful to everything your people have defended. You have the opportunity to tell the country and also the world that life is worth more than any concession. Thank you very much.
En conclusión, el primer debate de la ley de fortalecimiento de áreas protegidas ha dejado en evidencia las tensiones internas dentro de la Asamblea Nacional, especialmente entre los aliados del gobierno. La interpelación directa de Verónica Íñiguez a los asambleístas de Pachakutik refleja no solo diferencias ideológicas, sino también una lucha por definir el rumbo del país en materia ambiental y social. Frente a ello, queda en manos de los legisladores construir consensos que respeten tanto el medio ambiente como los derechos de los pueblos originarios, sin caer en contradicciones que puedan perjudicar al conjunto de la nación. Muy grave este país. Ya están saltando, ya están diciendo lo que está pasando y Verónica Íñiguez le dijo a los Pachakutik, ustedes tienen un pacto con el gobierno y se ve a las claras ese pacto ecuatoriano. Son parte de, pero ellos pidieron el voto diciendo que iban a luchar contra la derecha neofascista. Daniel Noboa de izquierda. Les pregunto, señores de Pachakutik, les pregunto si Daniel Noboa les ha dado dignidad. Les pregunto, señores de Pachakutik. Creo que el indigenado tiene que hacer una reestructuración en sus filas. No se puede utilizar a un movimiento indigenista para llegar a posesionarse en una asamblea y luego cambiarse de camiseta. Se llama miserableza humana. Hágase miembro plata, miembro oro. Suscríbase a Hechos Ecuador Noticias.
Suscríbete ahora a Hechos Ecuador. Para la gente que quiere información de verdad. Noticias al momento, todo lo que quieres. Directo a tus ojos y sin rodeos. Hechos Ecuador, suscríbete ya.